I think we've done pretty poorly, at least to our expectations. Obviously, we've had a ton of roster changes, but overall, I don't think anyone's happy with how we've been playing. I think at the end, we started to pick it up a bit, and fortunately, we've had some downtime before Worlds, so hopefully you'll be able to see that reflection of effort and our expectations when it comes Worlds time.
Obviously, being at the bottom is definitely not where they wanted to be or where anyone expected them to be, but I am also not too surprised by where they are right now, just because of how many changes they've had, and I do think that they've kind of over-changed their roster.
United are a hard team to talk about because they've had 3 different rosters pretty much, but I think the roster they have right now is the one that gives them the most chance to succeed.
Hurry has a naughty Yanis, which he's been whipping out occasionally. I think adding Baskin obviously helps, just the Baskin diff. I mean, unless they're playing or something. We still lost, never mind.
I think eUnited, the first beginning in first phase, they kind of struggle. So I think they're kind of fixing their problem was bringing new players. So they were basking, and I think that was a really, really good improvement.
At the end of the day, you got to just make the changes that you think are going to be best for your team, and that's all any of them can do. And sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. So.
I know Scream's been playing really well recently, especially on the Bass set. Very niche pick that not many people know how to play against. So I think he's been carrying games for the most part. When Baskin gets ahead, he does well. That's mainly just because Thorns is busted and he's run at carries, and he does that pretty well.
If they can get elites going through Solo and Scream. I think Scream has played better since Baskin joined. I think that played pretty well together, them two especially.
Yeah, United have done pretty well this year, considering the circumstances they were in. They were doing really well at the start, and then they replaced Ionic, got genetics, and then had they had a lot of honeymoon phases, and in the honeymoon phase they look really good, but then the honeymoon kind of phases away and the weaknesses start to show again. So now with Baskin, they should have the leadership, and we'll see how they do. Obviously, Worlds is just it's 6 days in a row, where really the games really matter, so they could just turn up and win it all.
Their biggest issue is drafting and play on the map, and I think if they can get that figured out, they have the mechanical skill in their players. And I think if they just, it's kind of weird to say just figure out team comps, just figure out drafting, because I haven't figured it out yet. But I just think that team on paper is just a really good team, and they just need to kind of figure out their way of playing Smite.
It's definitely hard for all the players to do well when they've been through a role swap. They've had 3 different players come in, and just in general they're losing a lot, and then a lot of those people's mentals can get quite affected quite easily. Scream, I know, isn't the best loser. I know Herwin's not the best loser and things like that. So yeah, I don't know. I think they've had a bit of a rough year, but hopefully they can pull together and at least make a good Worlds run or something, a good quali run. So
I think throughout the year, United have struggled with decision making late game. Even with the first 2 rosters they had, they'd usually not struggle early game, but they'd be so lost late game. But they've all said publicly, with Baskin being on the team, they're using him as the leader, and that's probably what they'll be working on most for Worlds.
We've had this roster for the last month or 2, and I think that we're kind of at the best of where we need to be right now. So if we keep practicing and keep getting better, I think we can be in a really good spot for Worlds. But throughout the year, I do think that we were on the low end of where we expected to be.
They just haven't had enough time to mesh together. They aren't practiced as much as other teams. They've made a lot of changes throughout the year, and it's been good for them, but it's also come back to bite them a little bit also. They haven't gotten as much time to prepare as other teams have.
We've got a hard bracket. SK, we pretty much have the bracket SK had last year. We're going to play against, on paper at least, all the best teams probably. There's no telling what could happen, but I think if we do our prep the way we've been prepping and we have confidence the way we've been managing to have confidence, that we could be the winners.
I just think that the other teams there are, they've been playing together all season, and they really know their play style and how they want to play. And there's obviously good players on all the other teams. I really think Sanguine, Renegades, and PK are all really good. I think that eUnited has a chance, especially if they can get their practice to be really, really productive and good and serious before the Worlds. But I just don't see them making it out of the qualifier land.